Welcome, everybody. So, we're going live on both YouTube and Instagram. Blessing the space. Hello. So, let me know where you're joining from. My name is Satya Lights. For those of you who do not know, I started my live broadcasts also on YouTube. So, in both channels, you can go ahead and let me know where you're joining from, how you're feeling. The topic today is the disturbing truth from a life that is being wasted. And I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Satya Lights. I am a clinical hypnotherapist, somatic trauma-informed embodiment mentor. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an energy medicine practitioner. So like everything that I'm going to be sharing is being shared from so many different vantage points being embodied. And, like we're looking at things from different perspectives. And all right. Hello. Thank you so much for your comments and being here. Amazing. So I'm just going to go right into it. Life being wasted. What do I mean by that? I'm going to bring in Carl Jung into the space. I think he has been dead for, I don't even know, like how many years, and still his legacy of his teachings are like highly impacting evolution of human consciousness. And my work is really highly informed by his work. For those of you who are, like looking at me and looking at two different screens, I'm live in two different channels. So this is how it goes here. And I want to give my thanks for Carl Jung and, like all the body of work that, like we're really using. And I do believe he was a very well-versed shaman himself. And so I'm going to bring in some quotes and then really talk into them, expand into them. A life being wasted. Like we talked a little bit about yesterday about our default programming. We're going to continue building on this every day for 30 days in the month of May together. Really, like what do I mean by default programming? How do we, I would like to, one of my intentions is also give you practical tools for you to leave this live broadcasts with practical tools to really implement into your lives. And hopefully one of my intentions is to inspire you to remember who you really are and expand that, because there's no really limit into the expansion of consciousness, right? Like we're literally just experimenting here on Earth. So without going into the whole like woo-woo spiritual parts of it, I'm going to start by reading one of the quotes that I'm going to expand on, and we're going to start from there. And meanwhile, I have a team member here who is taking note of the questions. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat box. And from there, if I have time today, I'm going to go ahead and answer them today. Or what we're actually doing with this 30-day live broadcast, what we're going to be doing is like really maybe even bring those questions into the space and really hopefully answer them for you. So you can bring real life experiences, real life questions, and like emotions in the whatever it is that you're like currently experiencing. It will probably resonate with what I'm about to speak with. So one of the quotes that I love, like I said, Carl Jung's work really informs the work that I do in the world. I am a huge fan of shadow work. If if you have been on my channel in the past 7 years or more, you have been really hearing about, like, my passion about doing this deep, deep, deep work. And although I am also a student of quantum physics and quantum model of reality, it still requires us as a holistic and multidimensional human beings, energetic beings, to actually really address our density, which is our lower three chakras, which is our shadow work. So here we go. I'm going to start with one of the quotes that I want to speak about. What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size. So what you resist not only persists, but will grow in size. So this is a quote for those of you who are now joining from Carl Jung. And it is, like, really the experience of us, right? Like, if we don't have capacity, we're going to go into the capacity, also nervous system capacity, and see how our resistance to be with what is in the present moment affects everything that we're doing in life, which in return, like, when we're looking at the energetics of things, is actually, like Carl Jung says, it's not only persisting in, like, staying in your experience, it is actually growing. It's growing. You're actually having a harder and harder experience and creating more and more density in your energetic body. What do I mean by density? I'm going to also go into that. Like, like, I'll bring into the chakra system, lower three chakras. I'll bring into the shadow work. What is shadow work? It's, experiences that either we're not aware of, or we are not willing to show as who we really are, and keeping it to us. So, I mean, like, I have a, like, I don't know, like, for those of you who already joined Be Your Own Medicine, or like my shadow work, demystified workshops, like, over the years that I've been doing, or you've been doing it on your own. I'm sure you've been doing it on your own because there's no other way. So you're familiar with these parts of us, right? Like, so we get to, in order to release the density that we're experiencing, like the past unprocessed traumas, or like the experiences and the stories that we're holding onto, and they all live in the lower three, in the, like, speaking of the chakra system, they all live in the lower three chakras, and that keep us, dense, and that keep us to be able to move the energy upwards. Because ultimately, what we're here to do is to move the energy upwards, and then have, like, a free flow of energetic, so we can actually experience our multidimensionality by opening our hearts. And there's a split that we're experiencing, and there are so many of us in the world in this moment. They have access to the upper three chakras, or their crown, and they're having these, like, amazing spiritual experiences due to their traumas and due to their inability to be in their bodies. So it's not good or bad. I'm talking about how we can actually bridge the gap and become the whole human that we are, and experience the expansiveness of life that we're here to experience. So that being said, one of the things that I'll share with you one of my biggest fears, and I do believe I am not the only one having this fear in life, which is really not being able to live up to my highest potential in life. And when I say highest potential, it is moment to moment different. Like we are dynamic, constantly evolving, constantly expanding beings. So it's not like, oh, my potential is to become this. No, we like it's constantly expanding, but within the moment, am I living up to my ultimate potential, or am I buying in to the programming that I came here with? So there's another quote from Carl Jung that I am like, using this within the context of releasing the resistance. Every human life contains a potential, and if that potential is not fulfilled, then that life is wasted. It's like and a life that is unexamined is a wasted life, right? Like we're, like if you're constantly being moved by these energies that are keeping us heavy, keeping us the same in the chains of the past, what's happening is really like we are actually stealing, like with those programs and unconsciously. We're not actually, of course, consciously doing this whole thing. Because yesterday we talked about it. If you go, I didn't post it on Instagram, but if you go to my YouTube channel, you can tune into the entire talk. If like once we are moving with the default programming, it's actually, like we're losing our free will to our programming. And in order to actually be able to choose, we got to cultivate some awarenesses and actually release the density of the past. And there's so many different ways to work with trauma. And when I say trauma, I'm not saying what happened to you. And I'm sure you heard it, like, Gabor Mate has this quote: trauma is not what happened to you. It's not the event. It is as a result of the event, how your system is actually responding. And that is, that is the trauma. So this being said, we're all traumatized. And, it can be, there's no big T or small t. Your every system is unique and uniquely traumatized in order for us to remember who we are if we choose to walk that path. And in this day and age, we are all being invited to actually examine those and actually align with who we here, came here to be. And that is the ultimate invitation of our soul, all the experiences that we're having. Yet, how do we reframe it? How do we hear and listen all the experiences and the accidents and the, like the synchronicities, or like everything that is happening in your current reality is inviting you deeper into your actual assignment, original assignment. But because of the density, because of all the filters that we're looking at life from, we're missing the point. And that becomes the actual game. It's not, like good or bad. It is the game itself that we're playing, but what are we going to choose? You get it? Give me some hearts, and like just like respond, and let's do this like a two-way conversation, right? So one of the things, if we are going to expand onto the potential that we have and that we're not living up to, what it is creating in our lives: jealousy, a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, a lot of like people are moving in life pissed because deep down, even though they don't consciously know, that's because that's why happening. Why is it happening? Even though they don't consciously know, they're fully pissed because they're not living up to their potential. They deep down know in their intuition, in their soul, in their body. So this is the time that we're all being invited to align into those timelines. And how do we align into those timelines? It's not by just thinking. It is by excavating the stuff that we're harboring. And it's not only from this life that we talk, like I always talk, like the entire ancestry, it is living in your DNA. But the good thing that I also yesterday talked, it's not only your DNA, not only contains your full, your traumas and your ancestry's entire stuff that isn't processed, that also contains your ancestry's entire gift frequencies, the higher octaves that are waiting to be activated. And how do we activate that? How do we activate that without addressing what we're hiding from ourselves? So the resistance is to really ourselves. It, like the invite here, what we can do is to bring yourself in integrity with what your heart is calling you forward to do, in integrity with your words, in integrity with your deeds, in integrity with your dreams. Like, are you showing up as who you know who you can be? And there's another point which can sound like a concept, which if you're thinking these are concepts, go to my live broadcast yesterday, because it is only a concept if you say it is. These are there, there's so many different humans living up to these concepts. They're embodied in these concepts. So basically, in order for us to show up as who we can be, we gotta be in peace with who we are in this moment. If we're constantly lying to ourselves about who we are, even the small things, oh, I'm okay to hide this, I'm okay to don't talk about this, I'm okay, and we all do this. And like when we're talking, the mask says, oh, I don't live like that, I'm so authentic. And all the while your entire energetic field tells to the eye who can see otherwise. So it is a very obviously individual journey, right? Like there's nothing outside of you. I am just an aspect of your consciousness here in time, manifesting and telling you what is possible for all of us. What is possible for all of us. Once we actually courageously say, you know what, this is the part that I'm actually lying to myself. This is the part that I'm saying I'm this, but I'm actually deep down not that. And that is where the incongruency lies. You're saying this, I'm this, all the while inside of you, you're still harboring the energetics of those other densities. That's why you can't actually align. The alignment happens when you're truthful to who you say you are and who you actually are. And life is being created from the place of who you actually are, not who you say you are. You follow? That's why it's like, oh, I'm saying all the affirmations. Yeah, you will say all the affirmations. But my invite is, let's actually be the affirming presence of what we say we are, so that we don't have to use the affirmations. We are the affirmation. That is the magnetism. I'm going to have a sip of my chamomile tea. So, what do we do? How do we not waste our potential? Okay, it's great. We're talking about this. And how do we actually align? First of all, we got to stop resisting to who we are in this moment without looking at who we are. Okay, this is my truth. This is how my business is. This is how my internal world is in this moment, which is subject to change moment to moment. Like we're very emotional beings, you're sentient beings. A lot of energies are moving inside of us, but moment to moment in general, okay, this is who I am, this is where I am. And, without being okay, without actually accepting and being able to look at it, without I can't look at it. We can't like turning our gaze up, like from it. If we can look at it, we can now, through that, see our potential of who we can be. From there, you can create, okay, this is the path that I can walk from here. Because without accepting and knowing where we are in the present moment, I can say all these things, it's delusion. All the things that we say, or like it's like without accepting who we are, is just delusions. You're creating hallucinations for yourself, and from that hallucination we're just like walking with all this programming, thinking that we're creating our own reality, all the while your traumas and your deep beliefs of like what you believe you are, and your unworthiness and the anger that you harbor and you didn't process because you were like maybe abused, or like whatever your circumstance is that is being created, all the while you're like hallucinating about otherwise. Fake it till you make it is a hallucination, and it may work for a bit for some people, but how can we actually learn to be what we say we are? And you don't have to fake anything, so that you just actually go back to your remembrance of your authentic presence and your actual essence. And this brings me, you know, to something that I wasn't planning to bring, but it's coming. So when we are resisting and we are watching people being in their full shine and they're expressive, they're being who they are, like people, there's so many amazing humans who are actually doing their work of excavation and embodiment and remembrance. We're like large, very large in numbers, and if you're here, you're also we're also you're on that journey. Yes. And the actual thing is, how can we become, which is like one of my like really deeply embodied and remembered things recently, how can I live a life that is uncompared? Because your comparison is a dishonor to your soul, and your comparison is your dishonor to God. You're saying who you created me to be is not enough because this person is actually doing better. All the while, you don't even remember who you are. All the while, like you're just like constantly comparing yourself. Comparison is a dishonor to God and to your original blueprint, to your magnificence. So instead of like resisting and like experiencing all this like persistent and the energy is not changing and you fighting like all this like tug of war, instead dropping it, accepting and being able to look at where you are in this moment, and from here what can I create, from here who I can be. Only then you can actually move from a place of non-resistance into your own potential that is waiting within any given moment, moment to moment, to be expressed, because there's no one potential, like when you arrive somewhere, so what we are looking for is where we are looking from. Right? So when I arrive into a place where I thought I can be, now that I have a whole new horizon to be aware of. So even with thinking this is my potential, like when you're thinking mind, you are actually limiting yourself. So I invite you to not limit yourself with your thoughts, and just like be the dynamic, following the energy of who you are now, and in that moment, with that vantage point, who you can be when you arrive there, you will be receiving the next assignment by your soul, God, whoever you believe, whatever you believe, what, or universe, right? So this being said, take risks. And in my world of like deep root cause healing, taking risks is to be able to actually look at ourselves deeply. And sometimes, even though we look at ourselves, from where we're looking, we only look at, we know, we cannot, like, we can see ourselves through the mirror of other people. So notice how you're relating with people. Notice what your relationships are like bringing it, like it's all data. Use that data and take risk. Stop resisting. Take a look at yourself and accept where you are. Be truthful to yourself. And from that place, you will be revealed your next level of potential in that moment, and take action instead of just see, like, like coming into a place of comparison. Oh, but she's doing it this way, but she's doing it that way. He just says this way. And when what you're doing is like, okay, you're so focused on outside and what people are thinking and doing outside in their lives, which has nothing to do with you. You're forgetting yourself here. You're abandoning yourself there. Your potential is waiting for, like, for it to be expressed in that moment, while you are so busy comparing yourself with other people's stuff. And it's so easy to do it these days, right? Like, we see people's like actual highlight reels and everything, all this like fancy lives that everybody loves to show. And if we're not really anchored in our own empowerment and self-worth, and really doing our shadow work, and like have those tools to work with what's coming up inside of us, we're going to continue disempowering ourselves, comparing, but they're better. I need to do more. I need to become more. Blah, 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 blah. And from that, time is running. What's happening? We don't know when we're going to die. So that becomes one of the truths of an really manifest potential and wasted life, really. So, talking about one of the core fears of every single human being, not being able to live up to their potential that resides inside of the moment to moment. And one would say their maximum potential is operating from forgetfulness. And we can say that too. But that will create more dis-ease, because your, like, unprocessed energetics that's living inside of your body. And we can go into that whole rabbit hole of disease and how we're creating our stuff, like from our unprocessed stuff. So one of the things that I will reiterate, taking risk, is to be able to be truthful to who you are in that moment, and taking action to really get to know yourself beyond the masks that we had to put in the face of challenges, in the face of adversity growing up. So that's a risk, because what happens when we take that risk? Hi, Sasha. You know what happens when we take that risk? We die into who we think we are, and then we meet in the process who we really are. And this is the actual ego death. Your ego is, like, while you're doing this, actually you're strengthening your healthy ego. We're not that killing out, we're like, the ultimate purpose of like this whole, we can talk about this whole ego death thing. I'm going to come to that comment. And Vivi Underway, I'm going to come to that comment. And really, see, missed the train of thoughts. Anyway, so the ultimate risk is to be able to see ourselves being willing to die who we think we are so that we can meet who we are along the way. And one of my teachers has a saying: you can only give birth to yourself if you're creating it. Otherwise, we can't. You can't. You can only give birth to yourself, your true, authentic self, moment to moment potential, who you're here to be, your ultimate assignment, your blueprint, whatever you want to call it. I have all the fancy words for you. If you're creating it, if you're actually taking action, if you're taking responsibility, instead of which we're going to come back to the victimhood. So before that, I want to go to the second quote that I want to riff on a little bit. How we're doing? Are you guys? Does it make sense? Give me some hearts. Give me some love. Amazing. Thank you so much for your attention. Mm-hmm. So I'll read the second one. This is also from Carl Jung. Yeah, I'm going to do a whole live about the ego death and the ego depth, which I learned from a depth psychologist, which it's also depth psychology is a whole Carl Jung, like stuff. So we can go into that. So another quote from Carl Jung: the world will ask you who you are. If you don't know, the world will tell you. Whew. The default path, the default programming. I think, if I were to, I was really reflecting that, like this morning in my meditation. Who would I be if I didn't take the risk to quit? I worked for some company, corporate company, for 9 months. I couldn't when everybody was like looking for that kind of jobs in their reality and getting paid that much and like have all those stuff. I got it. And I just couldn't be in it. And I just like was, bye. Like I quit. And I was thinking this morning, who would I be if I did not? If I actually continued my belief system where this is it, like you just go, and do your MBA, go to your university, get your degree and get your master's degree, and then get hired with a very, important company, whatever, like corporate job, and then you just climb the ladders. This is what we know, right? Like in our generation. And then you meet someone before you even know yourself, and you get married, and then because you can't get along, you make babies, and then now, oh my God, this is the reality of a lot of us, guys. And who would I be if I actually did not take the risk? And I'm not saying corporate jobs are bad. Don't look, it's not a judgment. It just didn't work for me. It just didn't work for my personality. I wasn't here to do that. I wasn't here to be continued silenced and micromanaged in my leadership. And I was like, adios, guys. And if I didn't have the courage, which taking risks, I took a risk. And honestly, until I built my own business, I had to do jobs that I also, was supporting myself, building my own business. So we got to take risks. And there is a part of us that really knows, deep down, we got to be okay. but the fear is louder because, and I get the point of, having a security of paycheck to paycheck, living that. But there are things that we can do in order to free ourselves from the belief systems, not the job itself. Once we actually do the internal work, it will ripple outside of our reality, and it will really affect and inform our decision making moment to moment from an empowered place, and choosing ourselves, choosing our heart, choosing our truth, who we came here to be. So, not taking risks and going with the default programming. If I were to go with my default programming of my entire ancestry and all the women who walk a path, a certain path, I would be currently really miserable, in a lot of pain, and sick probably, if I were to be still alive. Because, what I was taught, what, was modeled to me, was not the life that I was living. And it wasn't also supported. When I chose to actually build my own business and like walk a path who never was walked, leave my entire family and move to a whole new country on my own. Oh my God, I'm so grateful for my mom's visionary heart, that like she fully supported that. She was the only one who supported, which in return also, like, are you sure that you want to quit this job? Like, this is what everybody's, like. And that really affected me also. But like, who would I be if I didn't take risk, is a question. And that is a wasted life for me, wasted potential. It would take away my experience being here right now and like actually sharing my experience. So I want to bring in the quote from Mary Oliver. I love poetry and I'm a poet myself. And like, I just love expressing my expansive internal world with simple words, because the expansiveness that we can tap into through our hearts, sometimes it is, unexpressible with a lot of words, right? Like, it is a feeling, and poetry supports us to do that. And anyway, Mary Oliver says, what are you planning to do with your one precious life? So, what are we going to choose? What are we going to choose? We always have the choice point. And this brings me to Carl Jung's third and final quote that I want to speak about, which is, I'm not what happened to me, I am what I choose to be. So, for those of you who are in my field, maybe know I am a student of this synthesis and teachings called Gene Keys. Um, in the 55th Gene Key, which is freedom, there's this whole thing teaching. You're either a victim, you're either a victim, or you are free. I'll go to this screen. You're either a victim or you are free. And in any given moment, we are given a choice point. We can either be the victims of our circumstances. Oh, this is the family that I'm born into. This is the lineage. Da, 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 da. This is what I learned. And this is what I'm going to continue. Or it's like, oh, I'm going to remember who I am and this energy that is moving me, by taking responsibility and going into my deepest, darkest pain, and process that grief and turn it into my medicine. Process this, like comparison, process this pain into my medicine. And that's a choice. And this is the reason that I'm here, to really inspire you to make a different choice. And sometimes when we're in the actual event, when it's happening, we're not really present with the choice point. And that's okay. If you're alive, if we have the breath, we have a chance. If we have a breath, We have an opportunity to reframe. We have an opportunity to heal. How to process pain. I will come to that. Well, there's so many different modalities. Um, Definitely by refusing to feel the pain, you cannot process the pain. By acting like it's not there, you cannot process the pain. By being all high vibes and I'm only dealing with people who are high vibes is not the way to process the pain. The pain, the processing the pain is in the recognizing the pain that is there. Then it can transmute into a higher octave, into pleasure, into medicine that we're talking about, right? Someone says, "What's in the way is the way." I love that. I know. So, you know, opening our hearts, opening our hearts is going to remind us our right to choose. When our heart is closed, we forget. Our heart is the access point to a whole plethora of tools and energies and experiences and vantage points that we can see our pain from a different perspective. And it doesn't happen overnight. We got to do the excavation. And this is the ceremony of life, right? So I ask, what do we choose? What do we choose? And I'm asking all of you, people who are here live listening to me, and I'm really inviting you to, um, I'm really inviting you to respond. Give me one actionable intention or something in your life that you want to take action towards. Or it can be an energetic. Give me some, like, what is it that you're leaving this space with? Tell me. Tell me. Let's make it something not like only up in the air, but commit yourself in the next 5 days for only 5 minutes to actually maybe change your neurocircuitry. There's so many tools. And speaking of tools, this is what I'm actually teaching. This is what I'm actually teaching in my containers. So there are so many like in Be Medicine, I'm going to come to that. Like, so I just released a course, a self-study course that like with the intention of people like you and me be empowered from within so that we can make empowered choices and remember that we are the healers. I sent, if you're in my mailing list, Living Light, I sent a piece of poetry yesterday. I didn't know that I carried potent medicine until I tasted the wisdom of my own poison. I didn't know that I carried potent medicine until I tasted the wisdom of my own poison. So that is like real life experience from Satya Lights here in the moment, coming live to you in your phones. Seriously. I didn't know that I was a healer until I decided to choose like and go into the depths of my own pain. I didn't know. I didn't know that I could use my words like this when I was fully frozen in my nervous system, thinking that life is happening, but I don't know how to take action. Like all these parts of me had to come on board, come back home for me to actually experience what I'm experiencing right in this moment. So, in Bureau Medicine, if you're in my field, you already know my passion about nervous system. And honestly, guys, like I started this path um, of like deep intentional healing with plant medicines and animal medicines. And along the way, I started experimenting, and then I went back to school, which when I was finishing my MBA and writing my thesis and doing my final project, I promised myself never going back to school. Little did I know I was a student for life. Anyway, so along the way in my own healing journey, I wish someone actually gave me that toolkit and said, this is how you actually really address all your systems to create really embodied, sustainable change that sticks. I went into the clinical hypnotherapy school. I spent 2 years of studying with so many different like other modalities, only to change my mind. But it's not only through the mind. We got to change like your mind gets to be on board, your heart gets to be on board, your intuition gets to be on board for you to actually really live the life that you are actually, your heart knows that it is possible for all of us collectively. And nervous system regulation is key. Why? Because we are processing everything. Is it safe? Is it not? Is it safe? Is it not? And constantly through reticular activation system, which is you're directly connected to your actual default programming. Is this experience for me or not? Is this experience for me or not? What I believe, I create. And what I believe is imprinted in my nervous system. So neuroplasticity, good thing that we can change through neuroplasticity. We can actually really cultivate change. We can actually rewire. And in some cases, actually, there are some parts of us, they weren't even wired at all when it comes to connection to ourselves, to the world. So, by really addressing the nervous system, understanding how we are operating, what's happening when certain things are happening. True visions, I did. Someone's asking if I tried 5-MeO DMT. I don't know, but I did try. Yes, I consider myself a psychonaut, and I have experienced a lot with a lot of different medicines, other than iboga and ibogaine. Right. So anyway, so that's a different topic, which I would love to talk about. It's amazing. It's one of my passions. Like really talking about deep integrating within the medicines. Anyway, going back to the nervous system, it is so important for us to actually know what is stressing us. And when we're stressed, like what is actually happening in our system and how do we respond? How do we react? What's happening? We're collapsing, like how many of you here, when you are actually wanting to take action on something that you want to do, you feel sleepy and you want to take a nap, and you think you're a procrastinator and you go and read all these procrastination tools. It is not you because you're procrastinating. It is because you are going into the dorsal vagal and your system is shutting down. You don't have energy. There's something there for you to learn. So when we know our stressors, when we know how the energy is moving in our bodies, then we can use tools, simple tools, to actually regulate ourselves. And it's not like, yes, breath work is a tool to regulation. Meditation may be a tool for regulation, but not every tool is, like to be used in every single energy. We got to know where we are, and like we got to know what tool to use in that energy. Does it make sense? That is why it's so important. Know thyself in the level of your nervous system, and that, like it's not Stephen Porges, which is Peter Levine, which is the founder of somatic experiencing, has a quote, says, when the world knows the nervous system regulation, then we're going to be actually enlightened, because we don't have capacity to move energy in our nervous system, so we don't have access to our divinity. We're, like, it's like, we get stuck. Like we go to fight flight, we go into like shutdown. So anyway, to nervous system. And now we talked about Carl Jung and doing all the excavation work and the shadow work. In the second module of Be Your Own Medicine, I'm teaching shadow work and your tools to day, because life is happening moment to moment. So when you have tools to know yourself and to look at things from a perspective, oh, like this can be something that is useful in my evolutionary process. This can really support me. Oh, this may be a limit, or like, really knowing ourselves and our shadows and really embodying them, really integrating them. Right? When we know ourselves enough, in the level of our nervous system, in the level of inner child, in the level of our shadows, now we have a lot of, like information and awareness to play with and be with. And now we have a choice. Awareness brings choice. If you're not aware, you don't have a choice. You're just going to go, yeah, this is what I do. And like the root cause, we got to go to the root cause. And root cause is like a lot of like attunements from our childhood, infancy, a lot of attunement. We are missing a lot of attunement in life, like even although I don't really agree with a lot of Freudian teachings, he's a teacher of Carl Jung, right? Like, so ultimately what we are actually looking for, to go back to that version of us, right? Like the baby, to back to the mother. And like, if most of us with this, in this day and age, not to like just blame anybody, like it's the reality. We didn't know how to raise children and how to attune to them, especially in the Western world, because like you got to go out and make it. So really teaching these tools to come home to ourselves, to get to know ourselves, and inner child work. In the inner child portion, what I am teaching is to go into the infancy. Like each needs in the developmental stages is different. Each programming is happening in the different ages are different. So I am really breaking it down. It's, like if you, like inner child work is one of the most important works that we can actually do, right? Like bringing all those parts back into wholeness, learning to love ourselves, because ultimately that's all we get to do. That is the part that is constantly reacting and creating these like adverse experiences in our adult life. So really reclaiming those parts of us, so that we can actually, like Stephen Porges, this is also Peter Levine. It is never too late to have a beautiful childhood. Like we get to claim and also experience and bring everything on board to have a wonderful life. And emotional literacy, really learning about emotions, how to process emotions, what our emotions are like communicating to us, instead of actually making our emotions bad. Our emotions are our superpowers. Our emotions are our superpowers. We are, sentient beings. That's how we are actually like communicating with everything, those energies that are moving inside of us. So when we know them, we actually know what is happening. Like we know ourselves even better, right? Like that's the ultimate experience. Know thyself. And then I teach the power of subconscious mind, because ultimately, we're bringing everything on board and programming ourselves, dehypnotizing ourselves from our old programming, societal programming, and then we are really teaching our body a different experience, different way of being. And I'm teaching self-hypnosis for you to be able to do all those things. So it's an amazing toolbox, and it's available. I'm going to be sharing the links. There's a lot of master classes with epic guest teachers. There's a neuroscientist. There is a doctor, like from graduated from Harvard, that is actually teaching about microdosing psilocybin and how we can actually utilize this medicines into our healing journey if we can. How we know if we should be doing it, how what to do about it, and all that stuff. And we're talking about depth psychology and archetypes and how it resonates and relates to our like day-to-day experience. We're talking about subconscious mind and so many different interesting things. And there's like tools for life, and honestly, I was just like those are the tools that I use every day. Like one of the tools that I use like right before I came online. It's like it's life skills. And when we have these tools and when we know ourselves from this space, we can make different choices and we can create differently. We can become the artists that we are and like have a different baseline. So the problems of the old stuff, like old versions of us, will not be the problems when we actually learn more about ourselves. So it's like really the experience of um, really making the ceilings the new floors, right? Like breaking the glass ceilings that we're operating from, breaking free from the old patterns that we have been really locked in, like imprisoned in. Yeah. So that's Bureau Medicine. And for those of you who want to be on my mailing list, there's a Living Light every Wednesday that posts. So that's if you want to, just like be in the field of what's happening, what I'm about. I share poetry, I share stories. I love storytelling and sharing my own experiences, because ultimately, even though I am trained in so many things, I am the student of my own life. So I love sharing my own life experiences. And another thing, if you're wanting to be part of the portal community, I have a monthly membership community where we, get together, and there's like it's a growing community. It's not huge, and like we're becoming best friends, and we have access. You have access to pre-recorded meditations. You have access to somatic practices. You have access to weekly I Ching readings, which I love. Bobby Klein, who has passed, bless you, sharing his teachings every Monday. And really being in my field in this energy, and it is, yes, about doing deep work, and it is challenging at times, but also a friend, a sister that is actually cheerleading all the time for you and believing that you can. And another way to work with me is one-on-one mirrorship, and you're choosing yourself, me as a mirror to really support you in your journey of healing and embodiment. Doesn't matter where you're at. I do coach and mentor the whole system. Doesn't matter if you're a business owner or like whatever it is that you do in life. Everything in your life from that holistic perspective actually elevates. I hold the highest frequency of that place, of the like what we can create from that place. And like hold the vision for your highest within the realms of the container. So these are the ways that you can work with me, but highly, highly, highly recommend checking out the Be Your Own Medicine, and have that be really the stepping stone and getting into my teachings and like really learning tools for life, so that you can decide if you want to go into different work with me. And through this month, I'm going to be talking about different topics every day. You can go ahead and join us from the YouTube. Hi, David. You can go ahead and join me on YouTube, Instagram. The actual broadcast, if for those of you who want to re-listen and tune in, it's going to be uploaded on YouTube. I don't know if I'm going to post it on Instagram. I will decide that. And me and my team, we're in the process of also turning all these things and hopefully turning them into an audio format and sharing with you guys on Spotify and Apple, like iTunes, whatever, like as a podcast. I'm not interested or holding a vision to become a podcaster, but I want things to be available for different channels so that it is easier for you to tune into these experiences and these, like really my mind and my field that I'm holding from where I'm holding it from. So thank you so much, guys, for being here, for your attention. It's been an hour. I really, really, really appreciate you. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. One of the most important things that we have is our attention. So it's never lost on me that you are here and sharing that attention, paying that attention to me. It is my highest excitement to actually support you on this journey and share what I'm learning along the way with you so that you can implement, hopefully, these little tools, these things that I shared with your life. And remember, nothing is like knowledge is not as important, because if it's not living in your body, if it's not a way of your being, it is just a knowledge and keeping, like space in your mind. So I highly, highly encourage you to really choose one thing from this live broadcast and intend to bring it into your day-to-day life and experiment with it. Turn your life into an experiment. Be the scientist of your own life, as Dr. Joe Dispenza says. Be the scientist of your own life and experiment. What is available? What can happen? What are the possibilities when you actually show up for yourself every single moment from a place of love, compassion, gratitude, and really, open heart with for all of you, whatever that is happening inside of you within that present moment. I love you, I bless you, and I will see you tomorrow. And show up in faith. Yes, faith, faith, faith. I love you so much. Thank you so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Bless. All right.